to get a lot of traffic, you also need links. So no matter how many pieces of content you create, if you don't have that many links, it's going to be hard for you to also rank well. One way to generate the links is actually by releasing a free tool.
Welcome, Neil. You're a little bit of a celebrity over in our world. My team is very excited that I'm chatting with you today.
I don't know if I'm a celebrity or even a little celebrity, but I do appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit. I shared your bio before in the intro, but just tell us in your words, like your story. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Most people think of me as a marketer, but I'm really more so entrepreneur first, marketer second. Created a few different companies. My latest one is called NP Digital. We're an ad agency. I think we're in 8 countries or 9 countries. By the end of the year, we'll probably be in 20 countries. We're having a lot of fun doing it. Blog about marketing, create social content about marketing. Father, husband, it's live a pretty normal, plain life.
Normal plain life, just lots of businesses.
Not too many businesses anymore, more so a lot of headcount to deal with, although we have great managers, so I don't have to deal with too many of them. And I don't mean deal in a negative way. It's just when you have a lot of people,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
Yes.
And yeah, when I'm not working, I just spend my time with my family.
Cool. So I'm glad you mentioned blogging in there too. SEO is a big focus of ours. I know, same for you. Tell me in your experience, like why SEO?
Yeah, the reason I love SEO is it allows the little guy, little man, little woman, whatever you want to call it. And when I mean little, I'm not talking about size wise. I'm talking about dollar wise.
Mm-hmm.
People who don't have tons of money, it allows them to compete with the big corporations without the same firing power. Just think of it as like David versus Goliath. These
Yeah.
big corporations, a lot of them don't have, thousands of dollars of ad spend. They have millions, and in some cases, billions, right? Billions is more rare, but a lot of them have millions, some even hundreds of millions of dollars. And how do you compete with them? SEO can continually get you traffic. It's your 24-hour salesman, even when you're sleeping. And when you get the results, a lot of it it's from time and effort versus money spent. And yes, it takes longer to achieve the results, but once you get them, it can really change your business overnight.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Totally agree. And our audience is a lot of coaches and consultants. So why should they care about this and not just like SEO isn't just for bloggers, like the traditional blogger?
Yeah, so if you're a coach or a consultant, it's a great way to generate income. I'm not really a coach myself, but let's say I'm a consultant. All right, it's very similar. You're pretty much helping someone. It's semantics on what do you want to call a coach.
Sure.
And if you look at our ad agency, NP Digital, we were the 22 fastest growing company on Inc. 500 list when we first hit the list, or no, 21st fastest growing. I don't think 22. So 21st fastest growing when we first hit the Inc. list. And then we got on there again after. And a lot of the results came from SEO.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a 9+ figure revenue company. A lot of the revenue came from SEO.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that has been my experience too. And SEO has allowed me to quit social media altogether. And so I don't have, I mean, we have like an old profile up still that basically just says, hey, this is our welcome mat, but we do not hang out here. Come hang out with us over on the blog and the podcast and, where we are. So for you, when it comes to attracting like customers or visitors to your website, do you think SEO can be just as powerful, if not more, as social media?
I think it's more power than social media. The problem with social media is the algorithms change all the time. It can really hurt you. The reach is continually dying unless you spend more and more money. With SEO, you create amazing content, you get that evergreen traffic. With social media, you create content, you get that hit for first 24 48 hours. Unless you produce another hit, you're not going to see much love from social media unless you spend that money on advertising.
Exactly. The shelf life is just, that's what's keeping you on that hamster wheel every day. New, 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 new. And it's like, oh, I've got blog posts from years ago that are still bringing in, traffic to the site and then getting people on my email list. They're already there, too. I feel like having people on a social media platform, you have to like interrupt what they're doing, get them off the platform. Whereas SEO is like, they're already looking for you. Like they typed it in, they're looking for you. And then they're ready to like take the next step there because they found you.
That's right. And you said it best, in which you could have content that's years old, like just keeps producing for you, and you can collect emails from it, pop them in webinars, send email sequences to try to get them to become a lead or a customer, right?
Mhm.
It's endless. And that traffic continually brings new eyeballs each and every single month.
Yeah, it's the best. I love it. Such a longer shelf life, such a more sustainable way to, attract clients and grow your audience and your business. So we're on the same page. What are some trends in SEO that you think business owners should be aware of in 2023 now?
Yeah, so for some trends in SEO for 2023, the first one is a lot of business owners focus on content when it comes to SEO traffic, because the more words you have, the better off you're going to be. And assuming they're high quality, pieces of content, sure. But the problem with content is there's so much content on every single topic. It actually is harder to get rankings and traffic now than it was 5, 10 years ago,
Mhm.
or even 2 years ago. You search for any term like auto insurance, there'll be a billion plus results, but people are only clicking on the first 10, right? Page 1 of Google, maybe page 2. So you're looking at 20 out of a billion plus results. Now, to get a lot of traffic, you also need links. So no matter how many pieces of content you create, if you don't have that many links, it's going to be hard for you to also rank well. One way to generate the links is actually by releasing a free tool. So there's free tools that you can pop on your website for any sector. We have SEO tools and marketing tools and A/B testing tools on our website and calculators. You can go to sites like codecanyon.net and find tools in any space, like accountability calendar. I don't know, I'm making this up. You
Yeah.
can go figure out what it is. You can spend 10 to 50 bucks. They'll give you a white label version that you can put on your website, claim it as your own because you're paying for it, and they allow this. And you'll notice that over time, it'll produce a lot of natural links, which will help your rankings drastically.
That's such an interesting idea. So how does it help your links by having this tool?
People tend to link to tools more than they link to content. So if you have great tools on your website, you'll naturally get links. These links
Gotcha.
help your overall site rank higher, makes your tools rank higher, makes your homepage rank higher, makes your content pages rank higher, because Google will look at the overall authority of your website.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. What about AI? I know that's like the big hot topic now.
So there's, I'll talk about AI first and the issue people are going to run into, and then I'll talk about the problem with using AI. I do think AI is here to stay, and I think it's great. But first off, as I mentioned with the auto insurance example, if there's a billion plus results, and then if there's a billion plus results and people are clicking on page 1 or 2, you won't end up having to, just creating a ton of content is not going to get you more content. And let me actually type in a great example of this. So I live in Las Vegas. What is the population of Las Vegas? All right. That is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-word term. Okay. There is, according to Google right now, 70 million results, 70,500,000 to be exactly. All right. No one's clicking beyond page 1 or page 2. So you're talking about your fraction of a percent, a fraction of 1% is getting the traffic. So if you use AI to just crank out a lot of content and the content's not high quality, you're not going to do well. So the first thing is, if you want to use AI for content, it needs to be amazing content that has unique experiences, your expertise, your authority, your trust. Google calls it EEAT. And that AI is not going to produce. What AI is doing is crawling the web, see what other people wrote, and they're going to spin up a new version based on existing data. So if you use AI to write your content, that's fine. Make sure you go and modify it heavily. AI, if it takes you 2 hours to write a piece of content, maybe it'll take you an hour because AI will do like half the work for you. And when you end up doing this, what you'll find is your content will be much better, higher quality, even if you use AI, and it'll start ranking better. The second thing to note is AI is only as good as its sources. So Google's been around for ages, let's call it 20 plus years. And in Google's lifespan, they still haven't been able to solve misinformation. If you type a search for a lot of terms out there, you're going to get some false information. Okay. I typed in, right, what is the population of Las Vegas? Now, one of the main results says 646,790. All right. If I go to the next result, it says 659,348. The next result after that is 641,903. The next result after that is 651,297. The point that I'm getting is the first 4 results all say different numbers. What is the correct answer? There is an answer, right? Which one's the closest? Maybe none of them are exact. I don't know. But the point I'm getting at is if the input is off, and this was an easy example, and that's one of the reasons I also typed it in. But if the input is off, the output is also going to be off. So with AI, a lot of the sources are feeding in bad information, which means the content that AI creates naturally is going to be off. So you really need a human to double check it and modify it.
Okay, that's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, I assumed, and we've been playing around with like Chat GPT and stuff and seeing what we can do there. And I mean, it's honestly just fun to play around with and see what it can come up with. But I was expecting you'd have to edit it heavily because it would sound like a robot, but it really doesn't. It sounds like a human wrote it, which is amazing. I was thinking, you know, like I know how it works with Siri, and I wouldn't expect her to be able to write anything for me. So
Yep.
That has been really interesting. I've heard too that like AI can actually like basically do the keyword research for you and or making sure that your posts are optimized for keywords. Do you know much about that, or how is that possible?
Yeah, it can. So there's a lot of AI that's integrated with SEO tools, and you can feed it keywords and it'll tell you all the other related keywords and what's based on traffic. We do some of that as well on our end. But again, even with all of that, it's taking data from different sources and giving you an output without the human modifying it and making it amazing. It's just going to be another Me Too piece of regurgitated content.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so it can save you time, but it's not going to replace 100% of your time. Yeah.
Nowhere near there, right?
Yeah.
For some pieces of content, sure, you can end up having it write an article on like the colors in a rainbow. That's not that hard. You don't really need a human to modify that, but there's already a lot of articles that talk about the colors in the rainbow.
Right.
If you want to write anything that's worthy of being read that isn't already regurgitated, it's going to be hard for AI to do that, not just this year or next year or the year after. I would say for the next 5+ years.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you mentioned you do some of this and you have tools. We are big fans of Uber Suggest over here. So tell us a bit about the conception of Uber Suggest. And actually, I'll stop there and we'll just kind of get the story behind it first.
So remember how I earlier mentioned free tool, you get a lot of backlinks, it ends up increasing rankings. That was one of the reasons we bought Uber Suggest. We bought it for back in the day for like 120 grand.
Oh
We
my
spent
gosh.
millions. Yeah, we spent millions to adapt the tool and modify it and make it better. And then we did the same thing with another tool last year. It was called Answer the Public. We bought that, I think, for like 8.6 million or something like that.
Wow.
But we're running that playbook because we know it works really well. Free tools generate quite a bit of links and can generate much higher SEO traffic and leads in the long run.
So, but tell us about like the tool itself and how people could use it, people who are listening.
Sure. So you can put in any keyword within your space. Let's say you're helping people like become a wellness coach. right? You can type in wellness related keywords and coaching related keywords. It'll tell you all the other ones that are popular, all the other ones that are similar that you haven't thought about. And it'll tell you which ones aren't competitive, which ones get searched a lot, which ones are expensive if you want to advertise on. And it'll end up slicing and dicing the day and tell you based on your domain, here's the ones that you should consider going after, writing content around. You can even put in competitor URLs. It tells you all the people who links to them. It'll even tell you all the pages that are popular on their website, getting traffic from social media and Google, and what pages or what piece of content that you don't have that they have, that if you consider writing, it would add more traffic to your website. We call that content gaps, in which is, in essence, is telling you, here's all the stuff your competition is writing on that you haven't written on. Maybe you should consider it. And it'll even tell you all the things that are wrong with your page, from your code to your load speed, and it'll tell you how to fix it, and it'll prioritize it in order.
Yep. We use it, love it. I've done all of those things with it, and it's amazing. So when it comes to keyword research, what rules of thumb do you recommend people follow if they're, let's just say with your wellness coach example, like what's the search volume you would recommend staying within?
You ideally want to look for keywords over 1,000 searches a month, because remember, even if you rank number one on Google and a keyword has 1,000 searches, doesn't mean you're going to get 1,000 clicks onto your website. Out of all the people that search, only a portion of them will click through to a website. So you may get 10%, 5%, 2%, 3%. Now that may not be that motivating, but keep in mind when you write content around those keywords, naturally, without even trying, go integrate 20, 30, 40 other keywords. Some of them are longer tail variations, which, instead of wellness coach, it may be 3-4 word variations of that. But it'll add up, and that's how you get traffic in the long run. A great example of this is Quora. It's a question and answers website, and they don't go after a lot of terms that are super popular, but they go after a lot of terms that aren't popular, but enough people search for them every month. And when you go after millions of these terms, it adds a lot of traffic. And I think Quora is one of the top 100 websites in the world, according to SimilarWeb. I could be off, but the last time I checked, I believe it was in the top 100.
Wow. That's so interesting. And so what about competition? Or like search difficulty,
Yeah, it tells you how difficult a keyword is to rank for. And it'll tell you based on your domain, what's the probability of you actually even able to rank for it. It'll tell you how much traffic your competition gets, what they're doing that you're not doing. But yeah, it can break down all those things with the keyword.
Yeah. And so if you're doing keyword research and you find a keyword and it's like, okay, this has 5,000 searches per month, but the search difficulty is 80. Would you recommend like a small business owner go after a keyword like that?
Well, in Uber suggests there's like a feature that says like, what can I rank for? So you put in your domain name and it'll be like, oh, okay, you're not just a small business, but here's how many links you have. Here's your overall authority. And it'll tell you, all right, out of all these, million keywords or 1,000 keywords or 100,000 keywords, because our database has billions of keywords at this point. It'll tell you, here are the ones that you're actually likely to rank for within your space. So now you know what to focus on first.
Okay.
And it changes it per website, because some small businesses have more authority on their website versus others.
Right.
So you want to do what's based on your website versus what's, what a small business should do. So that way it's adapted more to you. And that way you can get better results quicker.
Got it. Okay, cool. Let's see. What are some of the biggest SEO mistakes you see people making today?
They're not consistent with their content creation. If you create content once a month, that's not enough. You need to do it weekly, just like you create social content on a daily or weekly basis. The second thing is you don't update your content enough. Even if you have old posts that are still getting you traffic, if you keep them fresh and up to date, they're going to rank way higher. It's a great reason why Wikipedia continually ranks for everything whenever you search on Google. It's because the content's continually up to date, because people go in and modify it and keep it up to date. The other mistake that people are making with their SEO is, they try to create tons of pages of content. It's not about creating the most pages of content. It's about having amazing quality content. About.com was a website, I believe, owned by New York Times at one point. I don't know if they still own it. And then they spun it out and changed it from about.com to like 5 or 6 different domain names, and they made them specialized, and they deleted a lot of the content. So they actually had less content, more specialty websites, and they got more traffic than when it was all on about.com. It just shows that when you have great content and you remove the junk and you specialize within your vertical, you're going to do much better in traffic as well.
Yeah. So another argument for basically niching down.
Correct. But you just want to make sure your niche is also big enough, because you don't want to be in a niche where like, wow, the biggest player in my space is making 500 grand a year. Now, 500 grand a year is a lot of income, but if someone's making 500 grand a year and they're the biggest player, well, if you're a fraction of what they are, then maybe you get to 50,000 a year. Is that enough where you would be happy with? So you also need to create a big enough TAM, right? So
Yeah.
or you need to be going after a big enough TAM more so.
Sure, sure. Okay, gotcha. So weekly content is required, updating old content. That's what we've actually just spent the last quarter, is updating a bunch of our old content. So glad we're on the right track there. What about combining SEO with paid search marketing?
Works great. So I don't tell people they should do paid or SEO. I tell them you should do paid SEO, email, social, conversion optimization. You should try to leverage all the channels. Marketing is an omni-channel approach. The key is just making each of the channels profitable and successful,
Mhm.
right? It's not one or the other. It's be everywhere you can and try to do it in a profitable way.
Gotcha. And let's see, I think we're up to our last question here. So, how long do you find it takes most new websites to start ranking if they follow like best SEO practices?
Within 6 months, you'll start seeing much more traffic from SEO. Within a few years, you'll see a ton of traffic. Like you're not going to go from 0 to 1 million visitors in 6 months. It's unrealistic. Sometimes you don't even go from 0 to 100,000 in 6 months. It depends on the vertical. You may only
Mhm.
get like 10,000 visitors a month. But if you want a lot of traffic, and again, it depends per vertical because some verticals don't have the search volume.
Mhm.
A great example of this is mesothelioma, right? Which is a lot of legal cases, people dying from like working on those old Navy ships, or like some of those old homes have it. Each case is worth millions of dollars in theory. There's not a lot of traffic, but there's a ton of money to be made.
Yeah.
So traffic volume isn't everything, but within your vertical, you should start seeing decent results within 6 months. Within years, you really are getting your strides going.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. It made me think when you were saying that, and now I'm totally losing my train of thought. You said omnichannel approach, 6 months. Dang. Hate it when that happens.
I know the feeling.
Oh, I remember. Okay. Um, do you find that it is like SEO practices are applicable to something like a podcast, or it's really more in written form?
No, not just written form. There's YouTube SEO, there's podcast SEO, there's SEO even on Airbnb, believe it or not, if you want to like coach people on how they can generate income just renting out their place, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
business for that. People make a lot of money on Airbnb. My father-in-law crushes it on his Catalina Island Airbnb.
Wow.
Um, but the point I'm getting at is like there's SEO everywhere
Mm-hmm.
and you need to adapt. Like for podcasting, Google also index podcasts. So keywords within the podcast, within the title, within the description, get the ratings and reviews for podcasts. For your YouTube videos that do really well in the first 24 hours tend to do really well for the life of the video. Send out email blasts in the first 24 hours, push notifications, encourage comments. All these things really matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's great. And when you say for podcast SEO specifically, I know Google owns YouTube, and it's kind of like that feels like a separate thing. Like it's almost like Googling, using actual Google when you're on YouTube. But
Yeah.
for podcasts, since there's so many different podcast players and applications that people use, how does that like, does, Apple Podcasts have a different algorithm than Spotify, or are you still talking about basically Google SEO?
No, they all have different algorithms and you got to adapt to each of them, and don't just focus on Google. There's Bing, there's Google, there's Airbnb for booking, there's Expedia for hotels.
Mhm.
There's TikTok. A lot of young people are now using TikTok. As a Google VP once said, for finding a restaurant, or even Instagram. These are all places where people are searching. You got to
Yeah.
keep all of them in mind.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Okay, cool. Neil, what should I have asked you about SEO that I did not get to?
The one thing that I would note that a lot of small businesses don't think about, the biggest leverage point in SEO right now is global expansion. US English is super competitive, but languages like Portuguese for Brazil or Portuguese for Portugal or French for what is called France, or Hindi for India, and the list of regions go on and on. It's not as competitive. The GDP may not be as high as the United States, but there's still a lot of money to be made. It's not as competitive, and it's an easy way for a small business to grow super fast.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Thanks so much. So we have a couple minutes left here, and we always end these episodes with a quick lightning round of questions. So you ready for it?
Let's do this.
Okay. What is your favorite way to make time for self-care while running all of your businesses?
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry about that.
Yeah. Like, what do you do for fun, rest, play when you're not working?
Hang out with my kids. I play games with them.
Mhm.
I don't know what the latest game that my kid is playing is, Zingo or something like that. It helps them learn how to read. So
Oh,
that one's
cool.
fun.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
Two, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay. We're similar. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Ah, cool.
So you're in it.
I'm in it. It's a lot of work, but I
A
love it.
lot
I
of
wouldn't
work.
trade it for anything.
Yeah, for sure. What's one tool or strategy you like to use to help with time management?
So I just use my Google Calendar and everything is in there. There was apps that I was using in the past, like Rescue Time, that tells you where you're wasting time.
Yeah.
I also look at my iPhone on a weekly basis. It'll tell me where I'm spending some of my time. And I look at where there's wastage and I try to remove some of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That can be a very convicting exercise to do when you see those screen time reports. That's what made me quit social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's one of the most powerful business books you've ever read?
I love Principles by Ray Dalio. If anyone hasn't checked it out, you should. I think he has digital versions for free. Don't quote me on that, but he has a lot of like iPhone apps and stuff. He's rich, so I don't think he really cares for the money. He's just trying to help people, but check out some of his materials.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Do you have a favorite quote or an affirmation or for when things get tough and you just feel like closing the door and hiding
Yeah,
away from everyone?
there is. And my uncle taught this to me a long, long time ago, and I don't know where he got it from. So, he would always tell me when things are getting really tough, just keep in mind there's other people out there who have it much worse than you, right? Like, for example, there's people without food and water. Like,
Mhm.
literally, there's people who are starving in this world. And when things are going really well for you, keep in mind there's other people out there who have it much better than you.
Mm.
And it puts it in perspective because it really helps you stay level. Like, you don't want to be too emotional in business in which you get too excited when things are great or get too sad when things are not going the way you want. You want to stay really level, remove a lot of the emotions so you can look at things from a logical perspective and figure out what you need to do to get to the next level.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's like there's always, no matter where you're at, there's always going to be somebody that's better off and worse off than you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Unless like you're like an Elon Musk, but like even him, right? Sometimes even though he has a lot of money, he goes through a lot of hate and people hate on him for like some crazy stuff. Maybe some of it, I don't know, he deserves or not. I don't really follow all the stuff, but he's doing amazing things for the world, at least in my point of view. Maybe other people will
Mhm.
disagree with me. He's not perfect, but like people are going to hate on him. They're going to hate on Bill Gates. They're going to hate on me. They're going to hate on you. They're going to hate on our children. And I know this sounds bad. People go through life with hate and positivity, but you got to learn to just control your emotions.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, podcast is called Success with Soul. What does success with soul mean to you?
Success with soul to me means succeeding in an ethical and a fun way. Like, if you're not happy and you truly can't be content with the way you're doing things, and you can't look yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you're doing, then something's wrong with your daily life
Yeah,
and you should work on fixing it.
for sure. Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Neil. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.